This is my first attempt to make a round wooden box with a lid and engraving. I really pushed my CNC machine. I upped my skills. Mistakes were made. I'll point them all out. But again, I think it turned out really good for my first attempt. I'll show you how I made it, and I'll highlight the mistakes as I go. I'm Matt Haas. This is Awesome Wood Things. Let's go. I start with a cove bit to hog out this pocket. And the cove bit, first mistake, it was a cheap bit. It came in a large set, and it wasn't completely round. You can see it left little spirals. Those spirals are actually little valleys and peaks, and the peaks are higher than I anticipated, and that made this V-bit engraving a little more unreadable than it should have been. You can still read it very well. Second mistake is I lost 0,0, and you can see it left a ridge there. I had to take that ridge off with a manual router just to clean that up. There was a Z-plate misfire, and I think that messed up the geometry between the operations. I punch out the tabs. No one shows the tabs being punched out. I tend to show these on my videos. Now, here is the engraving, and this went pretty well. There were a few times that it touched down and left very small artifacts that you can hardly even tell they're there, but I'll point them out later in the video. Again, that was just a poor bit. Here they are. If you look close, there's a dot here and here. That's really it. No big deal. Here I add a chamfer using traditional woodworking techniques. That's right. CNC is not just push a button and have a completed project. That's rarely ever the case. And that's nice. I don't want a hard edge on anything, so that works out good. My third mistake is the lid is too loose. I have 1/64 inch play between the lid and the base, and it's just not enough, so I needed a magnet to hold it together. The fourth mistake is I will reverse the lid and the base. I think the lid should be thinner on top. That just seems to be the natural way to do it. The next mistake is the plunge rate must have been too quick because there's one part on the outside of this carve right here where there's a little nick on the edge. I think the bit wobbled when it was plunging down, so I'll have a slower plunge rate from this point forward. The last mistake is this mark right here. Do you see that little burn mark at the bottom? That burn mark was because I was running the wrong file. I had the cove bit installed when I thought it was a V-bit, and the V-bit operation is deeper down in the workpiece, so the cove bit sunk directly down 3/4 of the whole workpiece and made this scar. I know I'm being super critical on these critiques, and the reality is this thing looks great, and you can barely even tell that those items exist. I'm super happy with my first attempt. I've learned a lot. I'm going to buy some better bits and change some of my settings. It's all a learning process. Thanks for coming along with me. Big thumbs up. Thanks, Internet.